Oh, tarry and await the Lord's pleasure. Be strong, and he shall comfort your heart. Wait patiently for the Lord. In the name of one God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Good morning. One of my favorite icebreakers is to go around a group, go around a room and ask everyone in the room, what's the thing that's not on your resume that people really need to know about you? I love this exercise, and my answer is always the same. I say something like, my resume says I love story, but that's code for I really enjoy television and movies. And this is like before the pandemic, right? So that means that at this point in my life, I have learned how to exegete television commercials. Now don't laugh, there are things to learn from television commercials. Take, if you will, the pharmaceutical ad. This is a genre that's fairly straightforward if you think about it. There's this new treatment, this recently approved drug that's being marketed. And the name of the drug always is a strange juxtaposition of vowels and consonants so that the pronunciation never matches the spelling, right? They're trying to form some name that is familiar yet new, something that's hopeful, something that helps you think this is going to help your illness or your condition. The commercial almost always features actors going about their daily tasks, hindered or interrupted by their ailment. And then we talk about all the things the drug can do, and at the end, they walk or skip or even dance into the sunset, cue the music, and then there's that guy who talks really fast and starts telling you all the things that you shouldn't do when you take the drug, right? There is this range of side effects from dry mouth and headaches to paralysis and death. And my favorite one is don't take said drug if you're allergic to said drug. Well, how do you know, right? So here's where we realize that a simple solution is not necessarily simple. There's this long list of warnings, of counterindications and side effects that lets us know that medicine doesn't work the same way in everybody. When you receive the medicine from the pharmacy, that is, if it's approved by your insurance and you can afford the copay, when you pick up your insurance, you will get a little piece of paper, and the piece of paper will list all the things that you need to know about your medicine. We call it the small print. Healing is not necessarily a straightforward process. And that, my friends, is what the creators and curators of Psalm 27 understood. Psalm 27, the song that we sang, is an iconic psalm. And I would argue that in terms of popularity, it is a strong second place to Psalm 23, right? In terms of Psalms of assurance, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Get in the right pulpit and start off that way and see what happens. When evildoers assail me to devour my flesh, my adversaries and foes, they shall stumble and fall. Though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war rise up against me, I will not be afraid. One thing I have asked of the Lord, that will I seek after, to live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and inquire in his temple. For in the day of trouble, he will hide me. God will cover me in God's shelter and set my feet on a rock. That's a good song. The first half of Psalm 27 gives a series of unforgettable images. It makes powerful claims that God is our shelter, God is our tabernacle, God is our sanctuary. In fact, I would argue the entire structure of the first half of Psalm 27 is a sanctuary of words. That when we recite the psalm, we enter into performative speech. When we say these things, we enter a safe room. Psalm 27 is a safe house. The first half of Psalm 27 is a safe house. And that is not our reading for today. Right? Our Psalter portion is the second half of the psalm. But when you understand the structure of the first half, that second half, our reading comes into focus. Now, if you were in class and we were talking about this form critically, we would say the second half is the petition and the assurance at the end of the psalm. In our reading, the psalmist has a list of requests. The psalmist has some presenting problems. The psalmist finds herself or himself in a situation. And this psalmist has enough experience to understand that when you are in a pinch, when you feel overwhelmed, when you are in times of trouble, you don't take your request just anywhere. You don't leave it to fate. No, you go to the one who is known to be a deliverer. You go to the one who is FDA approved with a proven track record. The second half of the psalm uses the imperative form. This is me talking to second person singular you. Hear me. Don't hide your face from me. Do not cast me away. Do not forsake me. Show me your way. Deliver me. It demonstrates confidence in the God that's described in the first few verses and holds the seriousness of the situation in the second half. We need this God. We need this God because we've transitioned from talking about long COVID to talking about long war. We need this God because we have this symptom of persistent and increasingly divided politics in our own nation. We need this God because we need to be delivered from emotional and psychological and spiritual fatigue. We need this God in the second half of Psalm 27, but don't forget the small print. The last word of our psalm says, tarry and await the Lord's pleasure. Be strong, and he will comfort your heart. Wait patiently for the Lord. The last bit of the psalm slips in, and by the way, sometimes God's deliverance doesn't come when we want it. Sometimes it doesn't come when we want it, Gaza. The small print says sometimes God's help won't come in the way that we want it, Ukraine. It says sometimes God's mercy won't have the desired effect that we can see, Haiti. We can feel desperate, wondering where God is in our own country. And we don't even have to go that big. Some of you are sitting here in the middle of your second semester, looking at the number of days left and the number of assignments that have to be completed and saying, I need the Lord to come fix this right here, right now. So in these days of persistent presenting symptoms, where not everybody has the same experience, look at the words in the small print. Some of you, by your very embodiment, are accustomed to waiting on God. Some of you find yourself in a unique situation of having to wait for relief. In my own embodiment, I am well acquainted with waiting, and this preacher is not a fan of it. And I'm not going to stand here and tell you that it's good because I think it's highly overrated, uncomfortable, and more often than not, I would rather not. But what I will say about waiting is that as much as I dislike it, it may be that for me, there are times when it's necessary. When you are introduced to a new medication, sometimes your doctor will say to you, now you're going to start taking this today, but you won't see the effects for 2 weeks. We've got to figure out how your body is going to respond to the medicine. And for those of you who have chronic illnesses, what you will discover is if you've taken a drug too long, one day your body says, it's not gonna work anymore. That's called drug tolerance, which means now you have to learn anew how to adjust. Sometimes waiting is necessary. What I will say is that sometimes waiting in this way teaches us something new about God. I'm at a point in my life where I lose things more than I like. My phone, my keys, I lose them all the time. Now, this is particularly frustrating because in my household, I was the finder. I was the person who could find everybody else's stuff. I used to brag that I had short-term photographic memory. I could look in a room and tell you everything that was in the room. And now I'm lost. It's frustrating. It makes me angry. I don't like waiting. But here's the thing. I'm in the house and the keys are in the house. They're both in the house. It's only a matter of time before I come to find the thing that I need. And so when we find ourselves in the second half of Psalm 27, remember the first half of Psalm 27. Remember where you are. You are in the sanctuary of the Most High God. You are with the person you need to be with the most. So just wait. Let God strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord.